Welcome. My name is Bina Bendale, and welcome to the Confidence Co-working Workshop. And a lot of the times, and the slide deck that I have, I'm actually going to start presenting because if I start talking, then I'm going to get my slide deck out of control. And it's very interactive. It is all 100% confidential. But the best part I like about it is you guys get to see live time everyone's response, and you don't know who responded. So that's also the best part about it. So this is either, let me share my screen and then walk you guys, ladies, through it.
Thanks.
So there we go. Next. So here is Mentimeter. Either you are on your phone, you can scan the QR code. If not, if you go to menti.com and enter this code in, it is all interactive. And the reason why I say that is because then afterwards I'm able to come in. So if you're just joining us, I am using a very special type of performance here, not performance, whatever you want to call it. Please scan the QR code. If you're on a computer, if you want to do it, go on menti.com. Here is to enter the code. We will also add this into the chat. So as you guys are coming on, but the whole thing is this is going to be very interactive. Okay. Everything, please just answer to the best of your ability. And let's see how things really do go. All right. So,
This is cool.
what is the confidence equation? So, a lot of the times people think confidence comes from just trial and error. You're just going to automatically go. You're just going to get the confidence if you go out there and do it every day, every day. And here, yes, that is phonetically turning true, but confidence really comes from turning in some of our past traumas into personal power. How do we have the adult and childhood traumas impact us with workplace confidence, boundaries, and communication? Oh, I have to go on this side. All right, here we go. So it's not just anxiety, it's not just imposter syndrome. Confidence really is a full dynamic of who you were in the past and who you are today. So, when we are feeling unheard, unhealed, how are you going to show up today? A lot of it comes back from our roots, right? Oh, I remember when I was 15, and this is actually a true story. I think I fell when I was coming out of gym class, and I just fell flat on my face, and everyone made fun of me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never gonna say anything again. It buried in my head, comes in, and still to this day, a lot of people, it really made me shy. It made me introvert because I assumed everybody was thinking and making fun of me, but in reality, they weren't. Or maybe they were. Kids are mean. Who knows back then in high school, honestly. But it does still shape me to who I am today. It's really hard, right? Like, I was bullied when I was growing up. I didn't have a very easy life. I was that kid that had the frizzy hair because back then my mom didn't know I had curly hair or wavy hair. And I had glasses, and back then the glasses don't look as cool as they do now. They were the thick glasses, and it really does shape who you were growing up. So your past does play a huge part to who you are today. All right. So why confidence feels so hard right now? Why? It's because confidence isn't just about a mindset issue. It's often about trauma that we have not uncovered. A lot of people come to me and they're like, I just don't want to talk to these people. Or how many of you are like, I don't want to post on social media. I'm scared. I'm scared of the vulnerability. I'm scared of being seen and heard. It's because it's something you can't figure out what the trigger came from. And you can't just define it. But confidence is built through clarity and awareness. The minute we are able to truly identify it, truly be able to say, and not necessarily when I fell out of gym class that year. Still remember it to this day. And I remember this gentleman that I really liked walked by me and he made fun of me on the way down. A couple of other people were helping me up and I fell flat on my face. I still remember this to this day. And to that time, I'm like, even now, like I walk into a room, I'm double checking am I gonna fall somewhere? And guess what? I'm still the clumsy one that will still fall. I'm just the clumsy one that comes around. But now that I've embraced it, I know that's about me. I know that I'm just going to utilize that as part of my confidence. Okay. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you guys feel today? So, the average is about 7, 7.5. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Honestly, before I even started this, I was like, are people going to show up? I still get it. Everyone still gets that little bit of imposter syndrome right before you do something big or something small. So 7.5 is not bad. We're going to check the same thing, I think, at the end and see how we guys do afterwards. But isn't this kind of cool? This is like one of my best things. I use Mentimeter. I do not get any subscription or affiliation from it, but I do use this with a lot of my corporate wellness lunch and learns as well. The trigger for transformation formula. And what I mean by this is, hold on, my thing is, there we go. Childhood triggers, it shows up somehow in our adult, and then we learn to heal. So, a childhood trauma could be like being told you're too quiet, dismissed emotionally. As an adult, you're scared to speak up into meetings, avoid leadership roles. And how do you begin to heal? Maybe you practicing boundary scripts, which there's a link here if you guys want it. Maybe you're utilizing a somatic tool. Maybe you're doing tapping. So do you guys see how your childhood triggers shows up into your adulthood very differently? And what I tell people is that when you have an adult trauma or adult trigger and a childhood trigger, when they become married, that's when we become very disoriented. That is when our whole body becomes dysregulated. That is when a lot of people might feel misaligned. They get these really severe emotional breakdowns. It's because their childhood triggers, along with the adult triggers, maybe old or new, when they come together, it really does shut down your confidence. Being rejected by peers or family. As I told you guys, how many of you guys with the raise of hands have been bullied when you were younger? I know I was, you know. How many of your family members told you that you can't do it? You should do this or you should do that. Don't do this. Don't do that. How many of you now find yourself in adult life people pleasing because of it? Because you don't want people to say this and don't want people to feel the same way you did when you were 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. I know I still do that. So identifying that core, how does that begin to healing? Identifying that core wound. This is where, like I was telling you, either you do tapping, we're doing some self-worth journal. This is where the real work comes into. But the fear of feedback. How many of you guys are worried about, oh my God, what are these people going to tell me today? What's the criticism today? I know I still feel like that every so often. This is where I talk about when we have that childhood trauma triggers, and I say triggers, not trauma, and I'm trying to make sure my words are correct because it shows up in adulthood. It shows up in places where you're like, I'm not going on stage. Who's gonna? No, I'm not going on stage. Literally last weekend when I was at the NNBA, I got told 5 minutes before I went on stage. I swear to God. They're like, yep, you're going on stage. You ready to go? And I'm like, sure. Okay. Didn't give me much time to think. But because I have started beginning to heal a lot of that times and that emotional distress of me falling when I was in eighth grade, I think it was like seventh or eighth grade, it was gym. So it has to have been seventh or eighth grade, right? I had this fear of falling on stage. I thought in my head, this irrationalization of, oh my God, what happens if I go on stage and I trip and fall? Because that would be something I would do. But because I have done the work and I've been able to do it, my confidence has gone up higher. How many of you guys or ladies had the over responsibility at a young age? taking care of younger brothers, taking care of a dog, taking care of maybe grandma. You were just the go-to person, right? I remember when I was younger, I was part of the latchkey kids. I had the key and I had to make sure my brother came home. I'd have to go down to the bus station to the little drop off and pick up my little brother and bring him back home. Which then, I'm not gonna lie, how did it show up here today? I'm a perfectionist. I'm a type A. Everything needs to be perfect. The doors have to be locked because that's how I was trained. Difficulty asking for help, right? Those are things that can cause and can help when people are like, I have lack of confidence. And I tell them, I'm like, there's the equation behind it. What are you truly lacking? It's not confidence. We're lacking self-awareness of where we were and how we have shaped to who we are today. So this is a different slide, and it goes through more of these childhood triggers. Exposure of high conflict or yelling. These are, I'm not going to lie to you guys, these are all my emotional triggers that I put up here just so you guys know that these are real. I was exposed to a lot of yelling. How many of you guys, when you were younger, your parents were yelling all the time? I know my parents did. There was no boundaries whatsoever. We got woken up at 2, 3 in the morning. Look what your dad's doing, or look what this is happening, or blah, blah, blah. And now I don't like to fight. I don't like conflict. I don't want to go into a situation where they're like, oh my God, Bina, can you like problem resolve this? And I'll be like, why? Let's just let it go away. And it took me a long time to get to where I'm at today. Lack of emotional validation, emotionally shutting down in charged situations. This is where I tell a lot of people confidence come back when your feelings are not being heard, when you're not feeling supported, when you're not feeling that electrical charge. And when you're older, how that may or may not show up is give you an example of say there's a crowd and you're like, I have a really good business idea and I really want to go to this networking event. And then all of a sudden, you just remember something from your past saying, you're not good enough. Don't even go. I'm not even go there. Comes in. So, the brain's talking to you. And now you just don't go into that room because you're like, you know what? I'm too scared. I'm too emotional. I don't want to go. Or you start thinking about other aspects, and then it also becomes emotional as well. And the unprepared caregivers or chaos at home. Honestly, this happens to this day. I don't think this is a childhood trigger. I think this is also a, not only a childhood trigger, I think this is an everyday trigger. Like every day, every problem. You just don't know the unpredictabilities of caregivers and or the chaos at home. This truly can go into anxiety during the workplace. How many of you, whether you're at bedside, corporate, or wherever work comes in, how many of you have felt a little bit anxious going to work for whatever reason? For any given reason. We've all done it, right? You're like, oh my God, I don't know what my boss is gonna tell me. I'm not sure if that coworker is gonna be there that's gonna make me feel uncomfortable. I'm not sure if there's gonna be a restructuring today. There's a lot of anxiety that goes along with that because it's out of routine. And this is where I tell people when we're starting to begin the healing, groundwork techniques, different things. This on this side, it's really just teaching what can you do now if this relates to you today. So far, so good? Yeah. All right. So here's another one. Where do you tend to carry stress in your body? And this one's a little interactive one. So you gotta, yeah, on there. So Kelly, on there, there's a thing on your shoulders. Yep. Yep. I think you can go up. Yep. I have migraines, head, chest. I have to stand up for this slide. I usually stand up for my presentations. So now imagine having, and a lot of people, all majority of you guys all said here on up, right? Now imagine having that much stress. Our body is already very heavy. Our brain is already 15 pounds or however much it weighs. Now adding all that extra stress to it, imagine holding two 10-gallon water jugs with you every single day, walking around, just from all the stress you're carrying. No wonder our knees hurt. No wonder our backs hurt. No wonder our ankles hurt. No wonder we get lymphedema or other stuff, because look how much stress is coming from the top half. And all that has to drain somewhere. And this is the normal thing. And yet everybody does things differently with that. All right, let me move you guys down. So when we can name it, it's when we can really take the power. When we feel it, we could free ourselves. When we can respond, we can respond with an awareness. This is what we call reclaiming your confidence. And what I mean by this is, if you know that you hold that stress right here in your shoulders, what can you do to alleviate it? What's one thing? Maybe neck massages, rotation, up and down. Maybe it's just they have those really good pill, like those little those like spine thingies that you can get. What can you do knowing that is there? And for the ones that said around your head, what can you do to decrease, whether it's a headache or a tension headache? What's the one thing we can all do to relieve that? We can drink extra water while we're drinking. But this comes with a response of awareness. If you know you're going to get tensed in those areas, pay special attention to those areas. Give that area extra love, extra attention. Maybe at night, have your partner maybe massage it out, or you can get one of those like little neck roller thingies now that they have so many different gadgets nowadays. But be kind to it, right? Be kind to that area, because if we are aware of where our stress lies, then we can feel it. And then we feel ourselves feeling a little less tension. So, from awareness to action. Now that you identified some of your triggers, you know where they live in your body. All right. Now, let's look on how these show up at work, in your life, in a relationship, in your finances, wherever it is, right? Let's connect those dots between the personal and professional patterns. So remember, no one is immune to this, okay? Not even me. We all have some sort of experience of emotional burnout from childhood. But this is why empathy is such a crucial piece in, I say workplace wellness, but in everyday wellness. Empathy goes a long way. Understand that we all have our own stories. So, who would like to share something that's happened to them in the past that's, oh my God, this is what's happened to me, and that's what maybe or may not be one thing that has caused you to have lack of confidence today? Anyone want to share? You don't have to. Oh, go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah, good.
For most of my childhood, I have a sister, no brother, and of course a mom. And my dad was a bit of a brute. So
Mm.
only his voice was allowed. We all had to be silenced, right? He would put us down. We could never really have a strong enough statement or opinion for him to approve. So we just learned to tiptoe around, especially with his temper. However, my mother said something once. My sister and I were getting on in our 20s and having a great single life and doing all sorts of interesting things and activities and sports and stuff. And I remember her saying once, she says, "Oh, I could never do what you girls do." And
Mm.
I looked at her and I said, "But mom, we came from you. Like, where do you think we're getting all of this energy and confidence, or whatever you want to call it, or
Right.
outgoingness?" For her to think that she didn't understand how we were going about our life with such high energy. And it was just that really struck me, that so now we had a woman who had little confidence, and then a father who is a bit of a bully. So I had it from both ends.
Yeah. How does that show up for you today?
It's really hard to put my voice out there. I'm in a very spiritual field and woo woo with a capital W, and to be able to put that out there for everyone to see and hear, working one on one with clients is so different than being really public about it. And
Right.
forget ever standing on a stage. Like, I'd rather just faint, right? Than stand on a stage. I just am not used to my voice being out there, but I'm also I'm retired, but my previous career as a teacher, I'm totally different with my own students,
Right.
my family. So in a smaller setting, I'm much better.
Yeah. And that's a big thing I want people to hear too, is that, when your voice carries, it does. Like when you were silenced from your dad or silenced by your mom, it's such a big difference on how it shows up now. And you said it, you're like, go on stage and you're like, no, I'm okay. You're like, I'm okay. And that's okay too, because your awareness, you know what you are capable of doing. Now, if can you be trained and do it? Absolutely. But it's a choice also. And I also want people to remind themselves, like, there's also a choice. You can choose whether to do it, or you can choose. I'm gonna there we go. You want to be able to understand, and that's the big awareness piece where it's as long as you are aware of where it is in your body and what it is that you're doing, you have the choice to learn, or you have the choice to be like, I'm good. I know I'm confident right here in these small groups, and that's okay too. And I think that's like the biggest part when I talk about awareness to action is I'm not telling everybody, oh, you got to go on stage and do this. Oh, you have to do this now. No, you just have to be aware of what you're comfortable with and what you're just like, that's my boundary. And to understand that's okay for that person. That's the empathy part that we're talking about. That's the part where not very many people can do what I did like 5 minutes before a stage and be like, and pull off a speech within minutes. I knew a little bit of what I was going to say, and I was still really scared. I was scared. I came off and I was like, whew, okay, we're done, you know? But it was very empathetic. Empathy goes a long way. And it comes from a better place for holding each other accountable, but it also holds each other to state, you know what? That's okay. And I think that's also where, again, like we talk about when we come to talk into confidence. So, talking about voices, have you ever avoided speaking up or leading due to fear of judgment? Yeah. When I've done this particular speech into corporations. This is actually the same slide deck that I'm using, and I'm reinventing it here. 95% of everyone says yes. They're scared to speak up or they avoid it for whatever reason. And it's all because they're scared of some sort of judgment. Isn't that crazy? We've been around, most of us have been around 30, 40, 50 years, and I'm saying that just in light. Most of us are successful in our own light. Most of us are coming from the bedside or from a spiritual world and something from a place where we're like, in our job, we know exactly what to do. We know how to do it. We're there. But if someone was to come up to you and say, hey, would you speak up for X, Y, and Z? 95% of people will say no because they're scared of judgment. They're scared of being placed in a box. Yeah. So, does this fear of judgment come from a place of imposter syndrome? Does it come from a place of over explaining, people pleasing, withdrawal? I don't know. Feeling hijacked from emotional during stressful situations? It could be all of it. But it's coming from that place of judgment. And how does judgment show up for everybody? And everyone has their own version of judgment. Self-doubt, overthinking, whatever it is. But now that we all have an agreement that it's 95% of us here on this call, it's 100% of us, are stating that you won't speak up because of self-judgment. Now that we have that awareness, here's the equation. Communication comes without guilt. It's what you feel. If you have confidence, is self-awareness, integrity, plus it's the self-awareness plus emotion, emotional integrity plus boundaries. Now, if we took away this judgment piece, how many of you guys would be 110% confident? If you just like release that judgment piece. You feel better, you feel more confident, you're feeling like, oh my God, I don't have to worry about the self-judgment part, right? But now that we all are aware of that, what can we do to support you? So that way you can increase your confidence 10 times more, whether you're at a 6 or a 7. And I'm not saying go to a 10 because 10's impossible. I tell people 10's, you can be a 9.9. There's always room for improvement. But it's the self-awareness of whatever it is from your own end on, oh, wow, okay, if I'm doing X, Y, and Z and I'm worrying about being judged somewhere, somehow, how do we release that? Okay, one more. What ingredients do you need most to strengthen right now? Motion, self-awareness, emotional integrity, or boundaries? Yeah, boundaries. Okay. Did this surprise you guys, this answer? When I have done this particular speech, there's two things that come up more: emotional integrity and boundaries. Always wins. Yeah. Because self-awareness, it makes sense, right? We are consciously aware of what we should and should not do, what we can and cannot do, right? We're aware of that. For the most part, we're all good people, otherwise we all be in jail, right? Let's just be here. Like we'll all be in jail somehow. So we're all somehow good people, okay? So the self-awareness part is there. The emotional integrity, that comes with work. That comes with, how do I break that fear of communication with a derailed sister or a derailed loved one or an old friend or a colleague that you may or may not had the best relationship last week. You guys got into a little disagreement over tasks and now you're like, oh my God, I'm just walking on eggshells. Boundaries is always the number one thing. Boundaries is when we will always put ourselves second. We will always put ourselves seconds, meaning we will always do people pleasing. We will be like, oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. That's okay. I got it. Don't worry. We're good. Or say someone flaked on you on a call. A lot of us are coaches on here. A lot of people on a call. Oh, that's okay. We can reschedule next week. Or how about we schedule in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks? Because that's the self-judgment. Oh my God, if I'm not nice, they're not gonna get on a call with me. That's also the lack of boundaries a little bit of, hey, you know what? We were scheduled. You didn't show up. And if you really want me to be on my schedule the next week or in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we really need to make some agreements here. Because I don't want you wasting my time, and I definitely don't want my time wasted. Now, that sounds a little harsh, but that's also boundaries, knowing that your time is sacred for you, along with the other person's time is sacred for them. And something that a lot of people have a hard time doing. I still am learning in this category. It's something that doesn't come easy. So, tools to rewrite it. It's let's get practical. You have to practice. This is something that doesn't grow overnight. When can you start rebuilding confidence? It's whenever you want. It's a choice. It's called the hand trick that it comes in. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but if you guys put your hands together like this and kind of put your up, yep, and then squeeze it, so if you're on stage, you'll see me doing this a lot on stage or before stage. If you do this and tap on this for about 30 seconds prior, you're utilizing both your left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. So you actually get more cognitively aware because you're firing off both sides. Yeah. It boosts your confidence because you're not focused on something else. I have severe ADHD, so I can focus on 10,000 different things. But when I put my hands together, and you'll see me on stage if I'm sitting, you can't see me sitting now, in my hand, and I'm getting nervous, first thing I do is I go to this little thing and I'll start just squeezing my hand. And you'll see this a lot with high, if you'll start noticing a lot if you see people on the air, you'll see people in conference rooms, you'll see people before they go on stage, you'll see them doing that because it works the right side and the left side of the brain and it emotionally like reunites your whole center real quick, real fast. Power poses. How many of you guys know power poses? Do you guys have a special power pose? No? You don't know what I'm talking about, Cassie? Power pose? You don't do this in the OR? You know when you go like this? Superman pose? No, I'm serious, it works. You go there and you stand and you're just like this. Or you guys probably saw one of the things on social media what I did the night before. Take it all in. It's a power pose. They work. Two reasons. You are expanding your body and you're also bringing in the positive energy. You're also bringing in the energy. When you have your Superman pose, I always tell people, and you ground yourself, what you're doing is you're taking all that energy, especially from the head, the neck, and comes up, and you're forcing it down to the ground. So you're releasing a real quick release of all that negative emotions that's building up. You're forcing it to the ground. That's why Superman does this, y'all. You guys don't watch Marvel? You know, when the Hulk starts like bashing around. Boundary script. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready for that yet. It is okay to go up and to tell somebody, I need a minute. I need 30 seconds. I'm not ready just yet. Anytime I do a speaking engagement, my team knows this behind me. I disappear for about 15 to 20 minutes. Before I get on stage, besides this last one in NBA, I disappear for about 20 minutes. No one can talk to me in that moment because of my boundaries. And what you say is what, and say what you mean clearly and kindly. I have a dear friend, also one of my coaches, and a lot of people may or may not know him, and some people may know him. Devin Banison, he does a lot of integrity practices. And I've been in his world now for a year and a half. I've been very blessed to be coached by him. And you speak with intent, speak clear, because that also builds your confidence, right? If you speak less and you talk with precise speaking, meaning if you talk and you throw out $100 for each word you take, I promise you, you will not talk as much. If you're a talker like me, you will think before you talk, right? But then it becomes clear and precise. And there's always that thank you behind it, or a thank you for the acknowledgement. And those are just small little tools that you can do real quick, real fast for moving from today on with just these 4 little tricks. Okay. Sorry. This one is just like what we're talking about at work. I'm going to fast forward it because I already did it, but it is also presentable in everyday life. I'm not ready to lead that presentation right now. As coaches, sometimes when they want to do a webinar, they're like, no, I can't do that. I'm not good enough yet. Or I need more time to practice before I respond. Or this role doesn't align with me, which they're all great. But just know that sometimes you just need to be a little bit more firm with what you're doing. All right, I think. So why does this matter? So tell me, so some of you I wanted to hear, why does this matter for you guys? Like, why was confidence such a big deal for some of you? No, that's okay. Confidence, when I talk about confidence improves communication. That's really where really a lot of it comes from. Confidence improves communication. It improves your leadership skills. It improves your team dynamic. And in corporate world, it's less turnovers, more engagement, and the safety of just the emotional safety of things. Okay. So a reflection, and we're going to wrap this up. Okay. Because I also want to give you guys time for questions, and I want to hear some of your guys' stories of what's happening and what's happening in your real life. So name one childhood trigger that still influences you today. Mine is when I fell. That 8th grade fall still triggers me. Shouting. Wow. That still triggers me. Being ridiculed for my thoughts. Yeah. Parents yelling at children. Yeah. There's a lot that still brings you to this day, right? Being pushed into a box, yeah. Being laughed at while talking in class, rejection. How many of you can resonate to, if not one, but to all of these? Or some of them? Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Abandonment. Yeah. Abandonment is huge. This particular slide always kind of, it chokes me up in a very loving way, because it just reminds us on how human we all are. It reminds us that we're all the same, yet different, and we all are triggered by different things, yet all the same. And yet still to this day, we walk around, or some of us walk around, that this may or may not even exist. And it's hard. It's heartbreaking. Yeah. Another question, name one adult trigger that recently challenged your confidence. My kids not wanting to deeply share. Having to be perfect. I don't like wanted to let people down. Okay. People being talked to like I was stupid. Scared of making mistakes and getting called out. These are all valid. And there's a common theme that I'm hearing and energetically feeling when I hear these, is that somewhere along the line, somebody was not feeling the love, didn't feel heard, didn't feel supported at one given time. People pleasing, kids not wanting to share deeply. Yeah. Being asked if I'm being angry because I'm quiet. Now, isn't that a predicament? I've gotten that. Somebody's told me once before, they go, you can't be a true introvert. I said, what are you talking about? I said, I'm a complete introvert. And they go, no, you're not. No, you're not. I go, yeah, I'd rather be behind in my bed in a book, sitting around, quiet, meditating with my samples. I'd rather do that. But because I am an introvert extrovert, people are like, I can't see that. So being asked if you're angry, does that make you feel misunderstood? And if you feel misunderstood, where do you place that particular part of anger and frustration from? Where does that carry? Yeah. So I'm going to share a thing. So I really want you guys to see, and I always put that towards the end because we're all the same. Confidence now, if you have that self-awareness that, hey, everyone else is feeling some sort of negative notation, can we let go of the self-judgment? Are we able to release it? Thank you, Kelly. Yeah. What can we do today? One thing we can do today to take with us for the next couple of weeks or the next thing. Now, you guys all know I like to be off mute now. The slide deck's off. Everyone's in my, everyone knows we all like to be off mute now. Hi, Stephanie.
One thing that I'm definitely going to use is the integrity practices, saying what I mean clearly and kindly, because I have a tendency, as you've sure interacted with me, I have verbal vomit and it comes out so fast. And I feel like I stumble over my words a lot. So I think being more cognizant and slowing down and saying what I need to say, because I feel like when I'm trying to explain what I'm doing and what I'm trying to accomplish, it gets garbled and then I get fear that I'm not being taken seriously because they're like, what? And then, so yeah. So that's definitely something I can use right off the bat.
Yeah. And we'll also be talking about this as we go into the containers as well, is practicing that the bucket being in front of you. Every time you put out $100, $10, you'd be surprised with how much less you talk. And not in a negative way. I'm not saying I word vomit all the time. We've been on conversation. I word vomit all the time, but there's a time and a place to word vomit, and there's a time and a place not to. So as we're learning that, we want to be able to be there with grace. It's not like it's right, wrong, good, or bad. I'm not telling anybody that. Everybody has room to grow. Everybody has room to grow. And to know that it goes back to what you put in the chat with self and love. Yeah. It goes back to the simplicity of life. Being heard, being supported, being seen. Yeah. And when we're able to go back to the simplicity of life, then you be realizing that if we're able to communicate that we all are feeling the exact same emotions at the exact same time in different content, everyone's self-confidence should go higher, right? Because they're all that every time, I'm telling you, when I put that slide deck up, when that self-judgment piece, it's 95%. It's shocking. Even in C-suites, even in leadership, when I put that slide up and they're like, oh, okay. It's very still, even in high level places, they're like, yeah, that it's they're still having the same issues. The only difference is they have better boundaries. That's the only difference. Their boundaries level, when I do this in the C-suite office, usually their boundaries are a little bit higher or their self-awareness is a little bit higher. That's the only difference. And that's because they've done the work. That's because they've been in it. They understand. They're like, we can't do that today. And how many of you guys notice that any CEO does not respond right away? They always take a day or two to send a press release out. How many of you guys notice that? Yeah. You know why? Because they don't want to react off emotions. If you guys saw even the whole Coldplay incidents. Big thing out right now. Okay. Astronomer did not send a release out. Everyone was waiting, and they also sent out a release 24 to 48 hours later. Even though it's the same press release that we're doing an internal investigation, blah, blah, blah. They've been on administrative leave, right? Because we don't want to do things off of emotion. Because we want to make sure that the integrity, the self-awareness, the integrity, and the boundaries are all there. And if we talk in that type of language, especially when we're out and about in our, whoo, somebody disappeared. That made my eyes mess up. Sorry. That messed up my eyes real quick. But it's very helpful, right? Confidence doesn't just come from, hey, I'm just going to do this and then it's going to go, I'm just going to boost it by practicing. Yeah, practice it, but practice the equation as well. Because there's 3 parts to confidence. And when I learned this and I had to jumble this in my head, so I have to really thank my team to putting this on paper for me or to come up, because I word vomited. It was a lot of just, and they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, we have this. You know what I mean? It's in my head. Come on. Any questions? Thoughts? Hi, Veronica. I haven't met, I saw you, but I don't know if you're able to come on or hi, but I wanted to say hi. I think she might be listening in. Okay. This particular presentation is only an hour, so I want to give you guys your space and time. If you guys have any questions or concerns, you guys can always reach out me. You guys all know how to get a hold of me. Yeah. And thank you for joining.
Thank you for presenting. That was really informative.
You're welcome. Yeah, Mentimeter, I like Mentimeter. I don't get any commission from them.
Yeah, that is really cool. That whole concept. I'm definitely going to be using it in the future. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, we use Mentimeter for everything, because then it's just like when I'm in corporations and I'm in different places, like it keeps the, again, that self-judgment piece, it makes it just,
Yep.
it really just pushes it away, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, ladies, for joining. You're welcome. And I'll see you guys all next week or next time. Bye.